Hi, and welcome to a first-time guest. I've got Camille Sheppard-Parrish. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Iris. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on because we're going to talk about get your mind right to get your man. So, yeah, let's jump into it. What's that all about?
You know, I really have this philosophy, like a lot of us do, that that are teaching relationship, helping people to get into healthy relationships. And hopefully you all don't mind, my dog seems to decide to bark
he agrees with you. He's jumping into.
Yeah, so she's getting her mind right. But so sorry about that. You know, getting your mind right for me is a very critical and foundational process that I take the women that I work through. And it's really about really understanding what's blocking you from having the healthy relationship you want so that you can really create that in your life. And that works for relationships, that works for your business, that works for anything that you want in life. You know, generally there's something that's blocking us, and it usually has something to do with our past or the way we grew up or the experiences that we had or some unmet need, right? And it's not until you're able to identify what that thing is that you can actually create your own breakthrough and become free of that, you know, limiting belief or block or, you know, stinking thinking or whatever you want to call it. You have to really push past that so that you can really get to the thing that you really want. And for the women that are listening today, it's a healthy relationship with their Mr. Right is what I believe. And so that process starts with us as women. We have to really get focused and get our mind, shift our mindset so that we can get in that space of having a healthy relationship first.
Yeah, what I really love about what you said is that you're really having the women get clear on what's the stuff they're carrying from their childhood that shows up in relationship.
Absolutely. We all have a grown little girl inside of us. And it's important to really understand, you know, where she is emotionally, how she's showing up in your life, and what does she need for you to nurture her and help her to realize that, you know, the world is safe, life is safe, you're grown, you're not going through those experiences anymore. And so now the real work, what we call our inner work, right? The real work begins in releasing the negative behaviors and triggers that are associated with whatever trauma you have in life. You know, I often share with the women that I work with that, you know, my life wasn't perfect. It was very great. It was good life. But, you know, I had some things that I had to experience. I experienced being, you know, raped as a little girl. And I'm hoping that that's not too traumatic for some women. But I can speak about it because I've done my work around it. And I've helped a lot of women that have some type of trauma, whether they've been raped, whether they've been molested, whether they've had their parents divorced or separated, whether they're, you know, they've been abandoned in some other way or their parents were drug users, you know, whatever's happened to us, perhaps they were just bullied at school. Perhaps they just thought they weren't beautiful enough or skinny enough. You know, we grow up with a lot of stuff, even just getting a beating, you know, as children affects them as they grow up into an adult. And so what I do is try to help them identify that stuff, as you spoke about, that emotional baggage that we've been carrying around and we think it's normal, and we push down our feelings and we don't deal with the pain. We just learn to cope with life. So I help women kind of identify what's in your emotional luggage, right? What's in your emotional suitcase, and let's start to unpack it so we can lighten your load and free you up to have an amazing life that you truly deserve.
Yeah, I really want to acknowledge you, Camille, for being willing to be vulnerable, open up about yourself, and really modeling what's possible when you've done your own inner work.
Absolutely. Thank you. You know, I hate some of the things that me and a lot of women have been through, but, you know, I really think that, you know, that even some of those experiences, if I didn't have those experiences, I couldn't share, you know, and I really am grateful that I can really help other women and other little girls that are coming up that are experiencing such tragedies in their life. And so thank you for allowing me to share it with your community.
Yeah, and you've also addressed that, we all have trauma in our life. Sometimes it's with a capital T and sometimes it's a small t, like being bullied or somebody laughing at you. Like I remember when I was this cute guy that I really liked in junior high school and he called me iron ass and I was just like heartbroken and I carried that with me forever. I still remember his name.
Right.
Like trauma with a little t, but that really impacts, your broken heart, whether you're willing to be vulnerable, how much of a risk you're willing to take again.
Right, absolutely. And it's really, it's important to clarify, what, like you said, if that stuff that we're carrying is with a little t or a big T, often, depending on where you are, and the type of experiences you have, that will determine if you can, work with a coach or work with a therapist. And quite often I have to refer women to a therapist because if the pain is so deep and the wounds are so hurtful that you really are paralyzed and you can't move. And if coaching doesn't work, sometimes you have to look into therapy to really work through that. Like they have this EMDR type therapy where they use eye rapid movement to help you kind of eliminate some of the stuff from your past. And I very openly encourage, because the women that I work with are very successful, but a lot of women, they have a lot of this type of emotional baggage or skeletons in their closet. And quite often, we have been trained not to talk about it. So, there's so much shame, so much blame, and so, so much fear about things that have happened to us. We were taught, don't talk about stuff that happens at home, don't talk about money, and don't talk about religion, politics, so we were trained not to talk about these things. So even just because we're quiet, and especially little girls and children were supposed to be seen and not heard, it didn't mean that we still didn't have the feelings. We had the feelings and we filed them away in a way that's now showing up in our adult life and causing us to, or preventing us from having the type of healthy relationship and even success in life that we truly desire.
All right. Now you touched on, your work is really with a lot of highly successful, savvy, strong women. Mm-hmm. And having been one of those, we often have that feeling of like, I can achieve everything in life, mm-hmm. but I can't make love happen. Right. So in your opinion, when you're working with these women, what have you noticed that there are particular challenges? Why do they struggle so much with making love happen?
And I have to go back to kind of what we started out talking about. I think there's really two reasons. And the first one is blocking the second one. I think the reason why women are still single, they're successful and powerful and able to own their own business and become CEOs in corporations and make hundreds of thousands of dollars, just like I have been. I've come from corporate America. I've been a director of IT. I have a PhD and an MBA, but I still couldn't figure out, why couldn't I attract my Mr. Right? Why was I getting into these toxic relationships? How come I just couldn't find someone to love me for who I am? And, in doing my research, because of my, academia training, I learned how to do research at a PhD level, and I started doing research, which led me to my book, Successful Women Date Differently, Secrets to Attracting the Love That You Deserve. And that research led me on a path of really looking at what's really triggering me, what's really ruling my life, what's really controlling my behavior. And when I started to look at those behaviors and connect them back to how did they develop? Where did they come from? And how come a girl that's not so successful, or woman not so successful, maybe working, in a different arena, she's not a corporate woman, she's not a very wealthy woman, but she can get a man and I couldn't. And when I started examining that, not just with me, but with a lot of women, what I discovered is, again, one, it comes from the things from your past. You have to heal from your past. There's no escaping doing your inner work, identifying what's blocking you, and having a love breakthrough and really clearing those things that are going on internal, what's your internal conversation? What's happening with you inside? What happened to you in the past? If you were abandoned as a child, you probably have some unmet needs. You probably need affection. You're probably very needy in the affection area. And when I started making the correlation to that, I started really uncovering that one, a lot of us are not able to have successful relationships because we're not able to heal from the past. And relationships have changed. Years ago, it didn't matter. Our personality didn't matter too much. Whether we healed from the past didn't matter too much. A man was doing what a man was supposed to do, and a woman did what a woman was supposed to do. But now with all of the blending of the emotions, and it's okay for men to show their emotions and women to be a little masculine, the lines are starting to get murky. And now we really need to get clear on who we are and how we show up in our relationships. And I believe the first thing that we need to do is identify, what's going on inside of us. What is that little girl inside of you feeling and talking about? What is your internal conversation? What is the tape that you continue to replay? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, because we have some of this internal baggage or emotional baggage that we're carrying around, it's really blocking us from becoming the feminine woman that we need to be to attract a masculine man. And so, if we don't work through the stuff that we don't want to look at, the skeletons in the closet, and do our internal work and really just not work on it to the point that we're so suppressed by it, but we want to work on it to the point where we could just kind of free ourselves from it. And once we free ourselves from it, we'll be able to open up and blossom into this beautiful feminine woman that a masculine man that we're really craving is looking for. So I think it's really kind of two major steps.
All right. And can we try and make the connection between what's the baggage and the connection to not being able to be that feminine woman?
Sure, thank you. And so the connection there, the bridge to love, if you will, the bridge from our past, right? I often like to say, I wrote a quote yesterday, we have to really create a breakthrough from our past to really embrace our future. And so the connection is that most men are looking to be respected, right? And then most women are looking to be loved. And on top of that, most women, strong, powerful, successful women, even a woman that might not be as what we call financially successful, right? We're looking for a man to prove that he's a man. We're looking for our Prince Charming, our savior, our protector, someone who will provide for us and care for us and kind of be our man and show up and be that strong male figure for us. And if we are a woman who is looking for a masculine man, we have to show up as a feminine woman that he's looking for. And some of the qualities that it takes to be feminine are requiring for us to be open, to be to trust, to be open and to receive his love, to allow him to take the lead and be the man, to be able to respect him as a man and not continually trying to change him into what we want him to be, but instead to accept him for who he is. And some of these things go vice versa. But for a woman, it's very important to ultimately respect her man, and that comes from being in your feminine. And a lot of us can't get to that space of being in our feminine and being open to love and respecting and being present and allowing him to take the lead because we have trust issues, because someone has abandoned or hurt us or abused us or cheated on us or lied to us, right? We have issues of abandonment because someone has left us, right? Perhaps we've been married for years and someone has left us. Perhaps we were a little girl and our parents gave us up for adoption or left us in a store or in a car and forgot about us or didn't pick us up on time, or maybe we were a latchkey kid or our parents just separated and split up, right? I know my mom had to go to the hospital when I was probably about 4 or 5 years old, and she stayed for a long time because of a condition she had, and I had to end up going to live with my aunt in Louisiana, and I was not around my mom during those tender years. And that can create the need for affection, the need for love, the feeling of abandonment. And if we don't really kind of go back and address those issues, it will prevent us from being in a healthy relationship and showing up as feminine, because we might not trust him. He might go on a business trip, or he might just be living his life, and, we're accusing him of this, or, we're feeling like he's going to abandon us, or we might have expectations on him to heal these wounds within us. That's not his job to heal, such as bringing us happiness and fulfillment in life. We want him to be our end all be all, instead of really taking care of ourselves, which is part of feminine, and learning how to do self-care and being present, becoming fulfilled and happy and enjoying life, so that when we partner with him, we can have two healthy people that make a beautiful relationship.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because what you're bringing to light is how some of that baggage has us filter through things like, I can't trust a man, he's going to cheat, he's going to abandon me, and how we believe it's the truth.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes.
What you're doing is you're inviting the women watching, and this is, I'm sure, just as applicable to men, but
yes.
most of the people watching will be women, is to invite our viewers to look at, what are you filtering through?
Yes.
What's that stuff from childhood where you got hurt or wounded? How's that still showing up in relationship and stopping you from having a great relationship?
100%. And Iris, sometimes we've had women who've been just raised by a single mom, and maybe they've never known their dad, and maybe they didn't feel the abandonment piece because they were just born and never knew their dad. But some women, I'm finding, have also been raised by a strong single mother who maybe carried an iron fist, if you will, in discipline, and maybe they have taught her how to be super independent, and have ingrained in her mind that she doesn't need a man. She can take care of herself and do fine without a man. Now, those might have been the mother's thoughts, because she's had to do okay without having a man, right? But then that little girl, and then she grows up to be a woman, she carries that attitude, I don't need a man, I'm independent. When you're in a relationship, you have to be interdependent. And so sometimes it's not always, I was raped, I was beat down, I was, sometimes it's just that perhaps your mom was working so hard, taking care of all the children in the family, working 2 or 3 jobs, being a strong role model for you. And now you may have never seen her be feminine and relax and enjoy life, or even date or live for herself, because she's been totally living to raise the children, and she hasn't had time to even do anything for herself. And that can cause us to become out of alignment with what we truly want, what our core values are.
All right. So Camille, in your work with really successful women, do you find that they have an extra thing that gets in their way for meeting a great man?
I don't. I think the only extra thing that may show up for them is that they may pass over men that might not equal them in their financial success, right? I think in general, I think there's 2 things. And then I think the other challenge she has is, because of these past issues that she's had in her life, a lot of successful women, to kind of heal those wounds that they haven't really explored, they become a perfectionist, they become super successful. They really try to prove that they're good enough and they're worth it and they're valuable with all of their success. And that's kind of how they're trying to put a bandage on their wounded heart, so to speak. And that's how they're coping with life, with all of this success and their things and their values. But what happens is that oftentimes they may meet a very good man. And now we as women, we're making hundreds of thousands, 2, 3, 4, 5, $100,000, $1 million, starting mega companies, right? And then you meet Joe over here, that's an amazing guy. He would be a wonderful father. He's very nurturing. He's very masculine. He's maybe very passionate, but they're passing him over because maybe he makes, I don't know, $50,000 and she's making $200,000. And so, yes, you want to consider what you want out of life financially, but the reality is that the men that are making 2 and 3 and 4 and 500 and $1 million a year, they may or may not want you because they don't want a feminine, a masculine woman. They don't want a man with a vagina, excuse me. They want someone who is really a feminine woman. They don't want someone who is trying to look like a female but acting like a man. And I find that that's a lot of times what happens is that we've learned how to get surgery on our body, fix our bodies, dress our bodies up and be a beautiful Barbie doll, but we still are not addressing what's inside. So even though we have the money, we have the body, we have the hair, we have the nails, if we haven't fixed what's inside, within 3 to 6 months of your relationship, the guy will see that and you'll start wondering, why isn't he calling me anymore? What happened to him? We couldn't get past a few dates, and holidays are here and he just didn't invite me to the party or to meet his family, or he didn't get me a Valentine's gift, and now you got all of this stuff going on. But a lot of it goes back to the masculine energy that we're carrying, and then the way we're looking at a man, and we're judging a man based on his wallet instead of based on the content of his character. And that's what we should be judging a man on.
Yeah, what I love about what you just said, Camille, is that, based on our childhood wounds, and we've all been wounded, like I said, capital T or little t, is that different people come up with different coping skills. And
Yes.
Often the women that are really successful have thrown in all their energy and their efforts to cover those wounds with being perfect and getting it right, high-paying job, almost impenetrable. And that's what puts out the masculine energy, even though she may dress feminine.
Yes, 100%. And there's nothing wrong with the success in itself, but oftentimes those, women, those of us, I'll throw myself in that lump as well, because I've been there and, I've had to learn, but what happens to us is that, again, we're amassing all of that success because we want to kind of look for or get the approval from our parents or whoever, or prove that we're lovable or worthy. And so, that can kind of throw an added thing into the basket, if you will, and kind of really cause us to have a lot of masculine energy and cause a man to actually look past you. And because the femininity is not just from our outside, femininity and our work that we need to do on ourselves, it's an inside out job. And that's what I teach the women that work with me, is that we need to work from the inside out. And now it's okay to be masculine at work. You have to. If you are, I was an IT director. My team is mostly men. My team is, from foreign countries. I had to manage teams that were offshore as well in other countries. And so, yes, you have to have masculine energy to deal with your team or to build a business or your empire. You have to do that. You have to have that. But the key is that you have to learn a process of what I think I've coined the term in my book. It's called circumstantial masculinity, whereas you have to know when to lead with your masculine energy, for example, at work, and when to transition to becoming a woman, example, when you come home to be with your man. And so, leave your masculine stuff and all of his body parts at home and at work. And when you come home, it's kind of, think of like a stiletto transition. Think about coming home and transitioning, into your stilettos, and becoming the woman that's going to be with her man. And I like to add to that and just play girl and enjoy your relationship in your life with your man.
Say that again. Do you remember what you just said?
Yeah, it's in my book. So it's very important to understand when to lead with your feminine energy and when to lead with your masculine energy. It's called circumstantial masculinity, and it is in my book. And so when you're at work, it's okay to lead with a little bit more firmness, and because people may not take you serious if you're crying and whining and being a chick at work, right? They might not, although our work environment is slowly changing and they're allowing a little bit more femininity because they're aware that it, allows the company to grow a lot faster. So I do want to acknowledge that. But in essence, we are still more masculine at work because we got to get things done. And so when we're at work, that's okay. When you're dealing with people that are not your your spouse, your partner, your mate. But when you come home and you deal with your man, you have to do what I call a stiletto transition, where you transition into a more feminine mode. And literally, I like to put that image out there. Just picture yourself putting on your most sexiest stilettos, putting on your most beautiful dress or nightie or whatever, and coming home. Do what you have to do to get in that mode, whether it's listening to music, whether it's putting on something sexy, taking a shower. I love to take showers, or you take a bath with your favorite scents, and do whatever you need to do to transition into that mode, so that when you're with your man, you're not coming home as critical and judgmental and bossy with him. You're coming home and you're ready to just play and have a good time, because men don't want to be stressed out. They don't want you to come home and tell them off and be bossy and give them a big list of everything to do and be so demanding like you are at work. If you come home and you play girl and you relax back in that feminine mode, I mean, really, really relax back and allow him to be the man, you will find that he will be encouraged and inspired to take the lead more, and he'll want to do more for you, because you're really helping him to feel more like a man. You're really helping him to feel comfortable in the role that he's in. You're making him proud to be your man, and you're sending a signal to him that I'm proud to be your woman, and I really love you, and I trust you, and I just want to have a good time with you.
Yeah, and at the end of that, you said, just play girl and
just play girl. I would say play girl. Yeah. You have to.
Yeah. All right, so now I think is a great transition, because I know you've put together something special for our viewers. Could you speak about that? Absolutely,
sure. Thank you so much. So what I have for women is kind of like a little bundle or double kind of package for you gifts. So I hope that's okay. So what I'm offering is a 12-day Love Breakthrough Challenge. So this will help you with start a foundation of what we've been talking about, help you really identify what's blocking you. And I include some of the steps, some of the tips, some of the things that I know that block women in general from really attracting the love that they deserve. So it's a really powerful 12-day challenge. It's an email and video that goes with it. So you can click into the link and watch the video that I've created for you for all 12 days. And then in addition to that, you'll notice throughout these email the challenge process, you'll have an opportunity to click on a link to schedule some time, so I can help you with your personal relationship situation, so we can truly identify what's personally blocking you and help you come up with a strategy so that you can release those blocks and truly make this your year of love and really attract the man that you truly deserve.
Great. And if this resonates with you, right below the video is a link. Just click on that. Make sure you take advantage of Camille's free offer. And my last question to you, Camille, is if there was one thing you would hope our viewers take away from today, what would that be?
I would say, one, even above attracting a man, really understand and learn what makes you happy, what fills your heart, what's your purpose in life, right? And then understand too what's blocking you from love. Don't be afraid and allow shame and blame and guilt to in the society to make you feel bad about getting a coach or getting a therapist and doing your inner work, because that's the only way. The only way we can get what we want is by partnering with someone who knows how to get us where we want to go. And so I want to encourage you to do your inner work, and then just enjoy your life. Just find out what you enjoy in life and do that. And don't allow yourself to be molded in not even a man's image just to get him. Allow yourself to be filled with joy and happiness because you want joy and happiness.
And there your puppy's agreeing with you.
Yes, sorry.
No problem. This is great. This is about being real, right?
Yes, absolutely. This is real, right? Real recording.
Right. All right. And with that, Camille, I want to say thank you so much for the time that you've given us today, for this great free offer you've given our viewers for free, and for the difference you make in the world. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for allowing me to speak to your community today. And everyone, please take to heart what every one of these speakers have to say. And I wish you well, Iris. Thank you so much.